When markets move, Stephen E. Orr takes the chair. From the White House to Wall Street, he's spent decades at the intersection of policy, markets, and real capital. And he's seen firsthand how institutions use data behind closed doors. Now, as founder of Quasar Markets, his mission is to pull those signals into the open so everyone can see what really moves the markets. This is Stephen E. Orr, Big Beat on Wall Street. Let's filter the future live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Matthew Tuttle, Tuttle Capital Management. How are you, man?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm very good. Listen, it seems like the world is moving quickly, whether that's war and politics or this morning, Netflix and Warner Brothers are going to get together. They're going to have a party, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, it's good for us. Hopefully, we've got 2x Netflix, so interest in the name is not bad when you're running a 2x. So like to see it.
Excellent. Yeah. So I think I said this morning that HBO is that you're now including CNN. It's not just a movie studio. Now I think Netflix really puts themselves in the driver's seat if they get this done. But in the previous administration, Lena Khan was going to stop it. In this administration, do we stop this or is it go forward?
I mean, I bet they wouldn't have gone through with this if they didn't think it was going to go forward. We've got a entirely different regulatory structure right now. So, I think they know what they're doing here. That'd be my best guess.
Excellent. All right, let's talk about it. Matthew, talk to me a little bit about Tuttle Capital. What are you guys doing over there?
Well, we're known for the levered and inverse, which hasn't been a great spot to be the past couple of weeks. But, everything coming back, that's been good. We are going heavy into the option income space. So, we're doing a webinar about this actually on Tuesday, why covered call ETFs suck and what to do better. So, we got a couple 0 DTEs out on IBIT and MicroStrategy. Timing wasn't so great on those, but, is what it is. We got a Mag 7 and a meme stock coming out in a couple of weeks. And, next year I'm excited. We've got our, ONO, which is our no bleed tail risk. Mm-hmm. We have Hell Yes, which is 100% S&P and 100% tail risk, which you look at the back test on that. There's a reason we call it Hell Yes. HES will be the symbol. HS. And then we got UFOD, on the backs of the Age of Disclosure movie. We will have the only UFO disclosure ETF. Now we just need the actual disclosure. But
I have a meeting with David Meltzer in Vegas next week, and as you know, the real life Jerry Maguire. So I think it's Show Me the Money, SMTM. I think that's the new ticker. Something I want to see. Show Me the Money. Look, there's a lot going on in the world, and we just had a hell of a sell-off, and then we've this push back up. What's the malaise going on in the markets? What's going on? Why is there such a retail institutional fight right now going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a lot going on. You have a Fed meeting coming up where we really don't know. The market went down on the thought that, the Fed was going to hold. Then it went back up on the thought that, maybe they're not. So we got that. And then we've got, kind of this whole thing. And I was trying to think of a sophisticated term but I couldn't. So I'll just say thing going on with OpenAI and the way, these deals are being financed.
Yeah.
And the whole AI world, hinging on one company where, there are some legitimate questions and, and some serious people, albeit mostly perma bears, raising some significant concerns. So, and we wrote about that in today's newsletter. And basically, I tell people what I always tell people: you can't time it, right, but you ought to be hedged. At some point, I'm going to be looking at ratio spreads on Qs, puts. I love doing stuff like that when, I think the market's going to move big one way or the other. But, I think those are the main issues that are going on. And then what's going on with Japanese rates is right now the sideline, but that could go into the fore. And then what's going on in private credit, that could come and bite us in the butt as well.
What are you thinking about private credit? I mean, the bond market seems to be messed up over there, and there's this whole thing about whether or not Powell's going to stick to his guns and not lower rates. Housing market seems to be in the doldrums again. Worst time, I guess, since COVID, I guess before COVID. So what are we thinking here going into this? What does Powell need to say outside of lowering rates to kind of stem the craziness in the markets here?
Well, I mean, for the markets, it's what he does and then, the dot plot and, where he comes out on that. But then it's also, why are you lowering rates? Are you lowering rates because you're seeing something that's scaring the crap out of you? Or are you lowering rates because Trump is calling you a moron every single day and you're sick of it? So that will remain to be seen. I don't know how much of an impact that has on private credit, whether there are other things. I think there are cracks out there, but there are always cracks out there. So, you could be, hey, sky is falling, and, be a perma bear. We have a podcast. We interviewed a perma bear a couple months back. Guy's been short the market for like 3 years. He's been getting his ass kicked. One day he may be right, but who knows?
I mean, this isn't 2008 anymore, right? The world isn't going to just fall apart overnight, right? Anymore. And I think
it could, but what we've got that we didn't have, but we didn't have it to this extent, is a Fed that's going to jump in and manipulate the hell out of markets.
And I think
that's what they did during COVID.
And what about data? I mean, we have a lot more data than we've ever had before that might slow down that process too, right? But the zero DTEs are exacerbating it. I wonder
how accurate that data is. But yeah, we have a lot of data.
All right, I'm looking up now. I'm getting pinged by our boy Jeremy Vreeland. Says he wants to talk about Bitcoin this morning. So I will pull up the charts on Bitcoin. Talk to me, Matthew, about what you're thinking about Bitcoin here.
Yeah, I mean, we're bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. This 92,000. Where are we now?
90,000.
All right, we're selling off again. But I think you buy the dips. I think you do it maybe in ways that are somewhat protected.
Okay.
We've got, obviously BITK, which is, a 0-day covered call on Bitcoin. But there are a bunch of different ways to kind of access that. We also have MSTK, which is MicroStrategy. I do actually like MicroStrategy here just because its premium to Bitcoin is completely evaporated.
Okay.
I do understand you've got that January 15th risk out there that, they may get, taken out of the indices they're in. So, that's something that, may be an issue. But, I'm buying the dips on both of those things.
And where's the dip for you? I mean, for me, last week it was 82,000. Where's that dip buying for you?
Yeah, I mean, anything in the 80s, I'm going to buy. Okay. The way I'm doing it is I'm doing it again with ratio spreads. Okay. So, in that way, if I'm wrong and it goes to 50,000, I don't lose money. I've got unlimited upside. My only downside in a ratio spread is if it's kind of flattish, which, gotcha. My prediction on Bitcoin is a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks, it's not going to be flat. It's going to be up big. It's going to be down big. And, and because, I've got some long exposure, I want to get my exposure now through.
What's the catalyst behind that you think the big move is going to happen?
I mean, it's a volatile asset class.
Right.
So it's not the type of asset class that moves around and just, is sideways for a couple of months.
Right. So Uncle Jerry's not going to be buying Bitcoin for their nephews, right?
Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's get to it. I'll pull another chart up here. How about this one? Mark Zuckerberg just now talked about he is firing a lot of his staff over at in the metaverse that he just went bonkers over, really investing in metaverse, changed the name of his company to Meta, and now is cutting back on Meta. Thought process here?
Yeah, we just actually wrote about this in the newsletter today. So what I'm looking for is the Mag 7 name that's going to be the next Google. And I don't know that it's Meta,
Okay.
but I like that, he's getting out of that and really pivoting towards AI. I don't have them, but these AI glasses seem pretty badass.
I could say I tried them on. I got new glasses and Ray-Ban at went to Lens Crafters, and I tried them on, and I wasn't that impressed by it. Actually, I was.
All right. I mean, good to know. I have not tried them. I've just seen the commercials.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Well, I think the Apple AirPod 3s, the new Pros, translates. So that's one of the things that AI.
That's pretty cool too. I mean, I do a lot in Korea, and I'm going to Japan. I don't speak the language. Hopefully that's going to help.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with the Ray-Ban and the Meta is that they don't only do 5 languages. They don't do Korean, they don't do Japanese or any Asian language. So there's a big thing there, and they don't have the video capability. It's just taking pictures and video, but you can't see things in your screen that I would like to see. So I kind of passed on them, and then that's hard for me to do, Matthew, to pass on technology. My house is full of technology, right?
Yeah, mine too.
All right, Jensen Huang, NVIDIA. You talk about the Mag 7, Mag 8, Mag 25, whatever we're looking at now. Take a slip a little bit over the last few days. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think NVIDIA has changed, where I used to say NVIDIA was the clear winner in AI. Mm-hmm. Now I say NVIDIA is a clear winner in AI. But I think, the floodgates have opened to some competition here. I mean, Google is obvious. We run a 2x Google. That thing's exploded lately. And then to a lesser extent, Broadcom and maybe AMD, come into it as well. Where, now NVIDIA is not necessarily, and I'm not going to bet against Jensen Huang. They could go back to being, hey, they're the clear leader. But they took their foot off of the jugular here, and other people are coming in.
Yeah, and I'm going to put up all the different 2x and 3x's that you guys do. And can you kind of explain how that process works?
What process?
Of how to build an ETF. I think everybody wants an ETF, Matthew. So how do you do that if they want to build an ETF? Tell them how hard it is, man. It's not easy, right?
It's not easy, no. And especially when you're doing it levered. Because if you're doing it levered, you have to go get swap. And swaps are a whole different beast. Requires all sorts of legal agreements, lawyers going back and forth. I mean, we've got some investment banks we've been talking to for like 5 years, and we're still nowhere close to an agreement on swaps. It's somewhat expensive, and really the key is, how do you market the ETF? I get so many people coming to me because we do sub-advisory work. I'll launch ETFs for other people, but I have so many people come to me. They're like, "This is the best idea ever." It's like, nah, no one's going to care. I can't tell you how many people tell me they've got the idea that'll beat the market.
And everybody has their own ideas, right? Okay. So how do you decide this is a dumb idea? What do you say to them? Go, okay, I don't think it's a great idea here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been doing ETFs for 10 years.
Yeah.
That, either, hey, this has a puncher's chance, because a lot of times it does. I mean, you could say, hey, I want to, I had a guy call me the other day. He wants to do an ETF that buys Turkish bonds. It's like, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think U.S. investors are going to want to buy Turkish bonds. But if something happens and all of a sudden Turkey is the place to be, and you've got the only Turkish bond ETF, that's a home run. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. But could it? Sure. I mean, you look at the Jets is a great example.
Yeah.
That's the airline ETF. Pre-COVID, nobody cared. Who wants to invest in airlines?
Right.
After COVID, airlines got hot and Jets got billions of dollars in it. So can happen. But, you get a sense that, a lot of the ideas I hear, it's just like, it's just really unlikely.
And you've heard some good one doozies. So give me the best worst one you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, probably the Turkish bonds.
Okay, all right.
and the worst part about that is he wanted to market it to people from Turkey who are actually in Turkey. And I said, well, can Turkish citizens buy it in the U.S.? He's like, not really. Like, no. Dude, I don't know how that's going to work.
And I'm gonna put up. I mean, for those of you who know, I do invest in. I don't know if it's pulling it up here. Turkish lira futures here. I actually do invest in Turkish lira futures. There's the forward curve. I am very, very short. So because I definitely think that the lira. So actually, I don't know. That's a bad idea, Matthew. To be honest.
All right, let's go. Maybe I was wrong. I gotta call that guy back.
Call him back up. I love it. All right, let's get to it. The hot one lately, let's go metals a little bit, has been silver. Hi-ho. Talk to me a little bit. I sold all of my silver on Monday. I went down to the store and said, I have a lot of physical silver. I no longer own physical silver. Am I right or wrong on this place?
I mean, short term, you're probably right. If I were a trader, I probably would have. Unfortunately for me, I don't have time to trade anymore.
Oh, wow.
So, I have, allocations to, and through options on ETFs. I don't own physical silver. I mean, I probably do somewhere in the house if I went and looked for it. But, so I own, options on SLV, a couple of the silver miners, PAAS, the gold miners as well. All of that stuff. And that's pretty much a fixed position for me, as a diversifier. Again, if I were a trader, I would probably have been selling that move. Okay. But, unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that anymore.
All right. You said that covered call sucks. So let's talk about it. Tell us what your thought process about covered calls.
So here's the deal with covered calls. And you and I, we both got some gray hair. We've been around for a while. When I started off, covered calls were something that old people did on stuff like Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's. Those stocks didn't move much. You'd buy them. You'd get a dividend. You'd write a call. Get a couple extra bucks. Not a bad idea. They have morphed now into writing covered calls on really volatile stocks. And, the only reason I'm going to buy a MicroStrategy, a Palantir, a Hood, whatever, is I think those stocks are going to go up, and I think they're going to go up a lot. So Why the hell would I write a call against that? What I'm doing is I'm turning what is an asymmetric trade from the standpoint of, if I just go and buy MicroStrategy, I've got unlimited upside and unlimited downside. But, if I've got some sort of edge in trying to buy it, I can make myself an asymmetrical trade. Once I sell a covered call on MicroStrategy, that's not an asymmetrical trade anymore. Now I'm limiting my upside to wherever I put my strike price, and I still have unlimited downside. That's a crappy trade. So what we're doing is two things. The ETFs we have out right now, we're only writing options during the day. And we're not doing it in a pre-programmed way. We're waiting for an opportunity. We see it during the day. I'll write a call, and we're out of that call same day. So assuming there are overnight returns, which there haven't been in the cryptos. But once we get back to that, then, we're unencumbered overnight. We're unencumbered over the weekend. And to me, that's the only way you do a covered call. The stuff we have coming out, later in the month, that's going to be put spreads, where we're going to be writing put spreads instead of call spreads. So again, I'm not limiting the upside. Did I lose you?
All right, guys, I posted up there the actual link so that you can click on the link now and see all of these ETFs that they are posting on this. We talk about the covered calls. IncomeBlastETFs.com. Click on that link. You can actually see it clearly what he's talking about. If you don't understand, I mean, he'll teach you. They've got great people on their team. I've known them a long time. Patrick Neville and Jeremy Vreeland and those guys will be there for you. So click on that link. Make sure that you check them out and hit up Matthew. All right, Matthew, we're about 8 minutes now into the open in the cash markets, and I'm gonna leave this link up for everybody to see as well. And I'll go ahead and put us back in the system here for us. But talk to me a little bit about the QQQ. We have seen a rise over the last few days, but are you expecting a pullback here anytime soon on this?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see something, maybe around the Fed meeting.
Okay.
Depending obviously on what Powell says, what he does, the presser, all of that. But certainly we've come a long way in a very short period of time. Again, I'm not a trader, but I still have trader mentality.
Sure.
So what I will do in my portfolio is I always have hedges. I will be adding to hedges as the market goes up, and I'll be taking hedges off as the market is going down. So what I want to do is I want to be buying insurance when it's cheap and selling insurance when it's expensive. And I think counter trend. So given where we've come, how the Qs do seem a bit overbought here, I would think the next move would be down versus up.
Okay, so path of least resistance for Matthew is to the downside. So I can definitely see that. All right, so I guess your timeline is between here and now and the end of the year.
Yeah, but a lot's going to happen. And again, we got the Fed meeting, smack in the middle of that. That's going to be a big deal one way or the other. So, which is why I don't think anyone can forecast. Because I could tell you, hey, I think the market's going to be this by 12/31, but what's Powell going to do? What's Powell going to say? What questions are the press going to ask him? How's he going to answer them? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows.
I don't. So, as my friend JC Perret says, I don't even know what I'm going to have for breakfast. Right? How do we know what the Fed's going to say? Right?
Yeah, I'm on the carnivore diet, so I always know what I'm going to have for breakfast, but I don't know what Powell's going to say.
I love it. I love it. I haven't eaten breakfast in years. Okay, let's get right to it. Talk to me a little bit about when we look at. Let's just go right to it. Eli Lilly, which is the weight loss drugs, been the big deal. Are you guys doing anything in that sector at all?
Not as a firm, but as an investor, yeah, I love Lilly.
Okay.
And I just bought the dip maybe yesterday or the day before. So, we'll see. Actually, I didn't. I mean, I sold puts, cash secured puts.
Okay.
But yeah. So I'm definitely a fan. I mean, you see, personally, I'm not a fan of Ozempic. I mean, to me, diet and exercise. But you see so many people on it. And I think once you are on it, you don't really go off of it. So, that's a stock I'd want to own.
Yeah, and for those of you out there that know, I am on Zapbound, so I'm helping you pay your bills there.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love it. All right. I think a lot of people have been asking me, and when we go into currencies, which affects everything in the world, the Dixie, the dollar. We've got some political things going on around the world. Are you concerned about anything going on right now that's going to affect the dollar here?
Yeah, I mean, I always am. The whole idea of fiat currency, paper assets. Yeah, I think that's why, a couple months back, you were seeing a dual flight to gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ether. And, now Bitcoin's taking it on the chin, but I don't think Bitcoin's taking it on the chin because people are like, hey, we're cool buying dollars now. I think there are other structural things going on in crypto. So that's why I think unless you're a trader, you got to have crypto, you got to have precious metals, and diversify as much as possible out of fiat currency. I think bonds are an awful investment. I don't think you want those. So that's why I've got permanent holdings and all of that stuff.
All right. We got about 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes now to the open. What's your thought process for today? Are we going long or are we going short today?
Looks like a nothing burger today. Again, I don't know that people are going to be that willing to take big risk ahead of the Fed next week.
Right.
So, that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment. I think crypto selling off gives me a little bit of a risk off feel.
Okay.
But, we'll see. Sometimes crypto is correlated with the Qs. Sometimes it isn't. But I'd be a little cautious here.
Okay. A little cautious. And what do you think Powell says that that we didn't expect him to say? We know it's going to be a purple tie and we know all that, but what's he going to say that you didn't expect him to say or are you looking to say?
Yeah, so again, impossible to predict. Is he going to cut? Is he not? But then I think as important, or maybe even more important, why? What are you seeing that's saying, hey, we need to cut rates here?
All right.
Well, and I have no idea what he's going to say about that. I do think he's going to cut. I don't know the why. I want to hear the why.
Okay. I agree with you on that. All right. I pulled up here for everybody here NFLU. This is one of Matthew Tuttle's 2X on Netflix. Thanks, Jeremy. Down 9% this morning. I think I'm going to do it this morning. I was going to buy Netflix on this dip, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy NFLU.
Let's go.
All right. I like it. All right. Got about 30 seconds here now to the open.
And I got a hop at the open, by the way.
All right, my man. I appreciate Matthew Tuttle. I appreciate everything here that you've done and your support. And we got your back too, my man. All right, Matthew Tuttle, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you, Matt.
You too. Thanks.
All right, we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna keep NFLU up here. I think this is a good place here. I do like this. I might be buying here down here on this sell off. I do like Netflix, and I think this is a good deal. I think the problem right now, I think quite frankly, is that people don't really understand the deal, and there's some back end on this. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up Netflix now down 4.3%, but NFLU being the big dog there for Matthew Tuttle, down almost 9% here this morning. So I do like this. Okay, we are now open 36 now, 35.85. Yeah, I honestly kind of like this Netflix move here. I like this sell-off, and I think I'm going to buy some down here actually. So this has been a very good move, I think, and I am going to go long, folks. Yeah, submitting the order now. I want to see it shake out just a little bit, and I think that we did that. And let's see, we are now 36.35 in FLX, 98 now, 97.88 now, down 5.3%. So we might be hitting the bottom there. Remember, we did this yesterday on other stocks too. So be careful out there. But I do like this. I like this move here a lot. Yep. Okay. All right. I am long now, 98 even. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But I do like this move on Netflix as a pickup here. So we'll see. And I'm pretty heavily long, by the way. Yeah. Look at this. We might actually see some goodness in here. Loving this here, 98. If we can get it right down here, I think this is a good buy. And I think people have, I'm not telling anybody what to do. We don't do that here, obviously. But I do like this move here. Look at this move. I like this move a lot. Look at this move. People were being stupid, as I said earlier this morning. I like this move here. I like this move a lot. I think I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, I agree with this move, folks. If you were paying attention this morning. Some selling here a little bit, but I like this. I think there's going to be a little shakeout here, but I still like this. I think you've got a great opportunity to buy a huge company here for the future. If you're a long-term investor, my goodness, Warner Brothers, CNN, and HBO, and all the things. You got Superman, and you've got Harry Potter. So all of that stuff is really, really good here. So I do like this. I am going to stay long here on Netflix. All right, and next coming in here is my friend, and I'll keep the screens going on. Kat Randel here coming in. Ask Kat. I'm going to ask Kat, how are you, man?
I'm delightful. It's Friday, feeling good. End of the year, ready to rock and roll.
How's that weather up there in the north?
The wind chill was 14 degrees when I took my 5-year-old to the bus stop today. So definitely feeling it. Getting ready for Davos by temperature gradation.
All right, for those of you who are paying attention at home, I just sold my Netflix. Congratulations, everybody, if you're out there. We just crushed it. All right, so but I'm just keeping everybody do that. All right, Kat, I'm gonna get rid of this screen, and I'm gonna let you kind of talk a little bit. And there goes Netflix to the upside. I had a feeling that was gonna happen just as soon as I get out. Right. All right, Kat, tell us a little bit about Ask Kat. Tell us a little bit about what you do. And I think a lot of people know that I go to Davos and UN. I speak, and the reason I get to do all that fun stuff is Kat Randel. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend for a long time now, Kat Randel.
Well, hi. Thanks for that, Steve. So Ask Kat is a strategic advisory, and we have a really unique consulting experience where we help people navigate the international event space. So Davos is sort of the Super Bowl of the international events, which is coming up. And of course, Steve is always a part of the mix with us. But really, we help people understand how to kind of extend their marketing, advertising, PR through the ways that they show up on stages, at cocktail parties, and really in a different headspace, right? Because sometimes when you're sitting at a round table, there's a different way that you would actually promote or market yourself. And we really help to customize what that should be for you and your organization.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit. The devil worshiping craziness that goes on at WEF, right? Is that what happens at WEF? I mean, I have heard every conspiracy theorist what goes on there, and I can tell you, I know for a fact that none of that goes on. But talk to me a little bit about what you think.
Well, as someone who myself did 2 tours working for the World Economic Forum, I can tell you that my personal opinion is there is no real Illuminati, right? Or if there is, then they're not outwardly there wearing their masks. Davos is a convening space for the multi-stakeholder engagement. And the idea of multi-stakeholderism is if you took one head of state, one head of industry, one head of culture, you put them in a room together and you try to come up with some way to solve for a problem, right? So different perspectives, different minds, different regional areas. And then you go, well, I never thought of it this way because I wasn't thinking from a technology standpoint, or I wasn't thinking about it this way because I am not a pop star and I didn't realize that your fan base could actually drive this around climate change, around healthcare, around AI. So yeah, it is not a bunch of people just trying to figure out how to control the world. It's more of a improving the state of the world experience.
Yeah, you know what? Getting that many people together in one room, and of course at Davos, that's not an easy thing to do. It's a small little area and crush, but everybody seems to get along. It's one big crazy fun, right? So why can't we do that with the rest of the world and the rest of things going on around the world?
Well, part of it is the lack of true interpersonal dialogue, right? So if you're just sending out messages via the internet without having an opportunity to sit down, have a drink, break bread, it becomes a little impersonal, and you're not seen or heard the way that you would be when you're up in a Swiss chalet somewhere.
Right, but it's the uppity place, right? I mean, isn't that where all the uppity people go? I mean, and I don't feel that when I'm there, right?
You feel like they're uppity? I don't know.
No, I'm saying people think that, right? That it's just
well, of course. Listen, anytime there's a situation where it's a little harder to get to for others, you feel excluded, and so that might give that impression. But it's not a better than. It's just sort of positions of authority that try to figure out how to come together and work across industries and sectors. Now, it does not mean that others are not invited. The forum has always had sort of like open forum dialogues, and anyone that lives in the town can attend. And, they also have a protest day and things like that. That has gone on for over 50 years. So people are allowed to have open dialogue and engage. Plus, if anyone does follow the World Economic Forum, I mean, they have something like 2 billion followers, and you can watch all of their YouTube shows and stuff. So it's not a secret. It's just that
about as open as it gets. That's what I'm saying. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, but you don't just do WEF, you do other things like the United Nations and Cannes Lions. Let's talk about some of the other events too that you also do.
Sure. I mean, the international event space happens all year long. And whether you're at Milken or Skoll, if you're at Aspen, if you're at Cannes Lion for the marketing and advertising people, South by Southwest, the UN General Assembly, the Reykjavik Global Women's Forum. Many of my friends are on their way to the Bridge Summit out in Abu Dhabi. Like, there's so many things happening. Or also right now is Art Basel, which is a great time. So part of what we do with Ask Cat is figuring out the strategy for which rooms, which parties, and which stages are relevant to you. And sometimes it's not as obvious as you would think, right? Like, yes, you might be more of what you think of as a finance vertical, but finance spreads across all sectors. And so your perspective in a place that's usually about advertising and marketing, like in Cannes Lion, you're actually speaking to an audience of some of the biggest brands in the world. So if you're doing that, then you're actually creating partnership opportunities that will lead to greater success.
And I think a lot of people, including myself, always want to know, how the hell do you get into doing something like this, Kat? I mean, it's like, I'm a kid from Southern Illinois. How the hell did I get into AI and all this? But how did you get into all that?
So I often tell people that I describe myself in 3 ways, right? I'm a strategic advisor, and I do happen to have a lot of former heads of state or very wealthy individuals that I work with because of my Davos life. And that's because I spent, like I said, 2 different times working for the World Economic Forum. So it creates a really impressive Rolodex. I am also, though, an international events person because I've always had a little bit of a hospitality background, and I love a party, right? And I'm also a film and television producer. So I've done large-scale feature films to smaller TV vignettes of all shapes and sizes. And ultimately, that is the same job. All 3 of those things is me taking a big picture situation and drilling down to each and every individual and saying, this is what's going to make this project great because you're a part of it. And this is how we're going to elevate you to your next big thing because of this project. And I think that is sort of something that comes really natural to me. I've started many other companies in the past dealing with executive leadership and learning about ways that you can improve upon yourself, but in this sort of social setting. I like to joke with people, it's called the International Sleepover Party because we go to fun and interesting places. But but yeah, I think it was just, it's been 16 years of pretty interesting opportunities that just all melted together.
Yeah, I love that. And you're not just doing these events, you're also an advisor to a lot of organizations that I really think are really cool. And I think one of them is my friend Yana. Let's talk about Mia a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, man. So great. Actually, just talked to her about 5 minutes ago. But yes, so the Mission Impact Academy, which is called Mia, is working on upscaling 1 million women around AI by 2030. It is a really impressive network and organization for educating, and it's not just women, right? We're working with everybody, especially corporates as well. But figuring out how do you interact with AI, right? We're not teaching people how to be a coder, but if you were a nurse or a teacher, if you were working, you know, on the stock exchange, do you know how to properly engage with the AI? So prompt engineering, basic tools, it's almost like AI 101 with a specialty skill towards whatever your needs are. And kind of taking off the kimono around the great mysteries of what's to come within technology. So that is Mia, and I highly recommend people go check it out. They are already in over 50 countries, and they have age ranges from 18 to 80. It's amazing how many people have signed up already.
Yeah, Yana and Melissa Steyer's over there, big fans of those two, as they're trying to change the world. And I think that's part of the problem, you know, for those of us in the AI industry for as long as we have, I mean, in my case, 15 years, I look at the industry and it's male dominated. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg's of the world, right? Sam Altman, we all know who they are. Where are the women and that are producing the AI, right? Help me out here.
So I actually think the women are just sitting in seat number 2 or 3, right? Correct. Behind every great man is a woman somewhere driving the force of their company. But there are a lot of women who just take on different roles, right? A great friend of mine, one of the jobs I had at the World Economic Forum was helping to launch the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And so a great friend of mine is Kay Firth Butterfield, who actually has a new book coming out in January. It's going to be very exciting. But Kay is one of the world leading experts around policy. And so when we talk about policy and AI, you really have to come from a different headspace. So I would say a lot of the women working in technology maybe are not necessarily the CEO of a company, but they are the ones dealing with education in the line of it. They're dealing with understanding policy and protectionisms. So they're there. There's plenty of women in tech, but they're maybe not always the first face you see. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg, right? How many years was his company run by a woman?
Yeah, right. All right, so pulling up real quickly here, Qs are pushing higher a little bit here in the morning, but not by much. Bitcoin taking a slip as well. There was a big sell-off this morning, but I think what we're seeing is the dip buying here down here. So if you are into it right now, I have bought Bitcoin on this dip as it slipped off here a little bit. All right, we'll get back to it. There we go, Kat. Great. All right, Kat, talk to me a little bit about the world. What are you seeing in the world that are you happy? Are you sad? What's going on? What's the world of Kat Randel thinking about the world as we see right now? And of course, you are a futuristic person like myself. You see the visions of the future that you like. Are we going in the right direction?
Well, I think we're going in a direction that is definitely like pioneering days. We don't know where we're going, but we know that we have to go forward. 2025 was a doozy for most people. And I personally felt the weight of the transitions, the shifts that are happening, right? Both micro and macro. I'm sure every person, you talk to anybody at a dinner party and they'll be like, oh, I moved, I got divorced, I decided to like change my job, or I lost my job. So there was a lot of big fluctuations and changes, both personally and then of course on a much larger global scale. And those types of shifts are felt everywhere. And I've been saying for 3 years that we're in a global recession. Whether or not everyone else wants to talk about it, hey, that's, I guess, a personal choice.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you look at Europe and Switzerland, a good example of that, 0%, right? I mean, what are they going to go negative on their rates? Look at Japan, right? 0.3%. It's ridiculous, right? And you have to wonder, with job losses now coming, and we just talked about Mia, right? Talk to me a little bit about job losses. Are people concerned about job losses out there? Are you seeing that as well?
I mean, especially depending on your sector, right? We talked about Cannes Lion and the media advertising kind of branding world. They've had a really big hit this year. And so many of the larger agencies have had massive layoffs. I've got a lot of close personal friends who have been a part of that shift. It doesn't, though, mean that it's the end of the world or the end of anyone's career. We are in this beautiful renaissance. So we have to all understand that with the AI revolution, with just the greater global shifts that are happening and the perspectives, it's not about you losing everything. It's about you reinventing yourself. And sometimes you don't have to do much, but change a little bit of language. And that includes for jobs. So for a lot of the creatives who were in corporate, they may have to be a bit more creative than corporate going forward. I think we're going to see a lot more ecosystem investing, ecosystem mapping around sort of the future of work. And so you're going to see greater shifts for sure in the ways that people work together, people start businesses. They do them as partners and not necessarily competitors, or as everyone's a 1099, but they add each other collectively to projects. So, and especially for women, you were talking about women. I think that's happening a lot right now. There's, weird statistics about the ways that the workforce is being affected. And obviously for women in the last 5 years, it's been a doozy, but because of post-COVID, COVID-related stuff. But it's also just what do you want out of your life? And women are approaching that in a very different way now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without some strong women in my life. So I know that feeling. Great. All right. So you have a unique position where you get to travel all over the world and see different cultures. And so, where's the next hotspot? What area are we missing? I like Japan myself, and we talked about Texas on the show quite a few times. But talk to me, Kat, about what kind of hotspot are you seeing around the world here?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the sector. I mean, Africa is really big, and everyone has to always keep their eyes open. The biggest and most interesting thing about both workforce flows and then technology shifts is where people are going to come up with the things that we've never thought of or dreamt of before. And so, across Africa, there are some very, very creative companies and initiatives. It's a place
like what? I'm calling it Chafrica because it's mostly owned by China now, right? But
China, India, the USA, there's a lot of that, but it doesn't change again the ingenuity in workforce. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot in ag tech. I think you're going to see a lot in the way that businesses run, again, going back to that like ecosystem mapping, creating different types of business models that we're not quite used to, or maybe not fully comfortable with, right?
Like what?
Well, in a more circular economy type of way. So I think you're going to see that there's a lot of businesses that one begets the other, but in a sort of sharing economy space, that will be a stronger model that will be more successful in a lot of parts of Africa.
And I always consider Africa, a lot of Africa, the unbanked, right? They don't have banking accounts, and will the digital economy be strong in Africa, you think, over the next 10 years?
Yeah, and it already is, right? I mean, people they've been doing most of their banking in ways that like all the Bitcoin people would be really happy for.
Okay.
And anyone who's looking to invest in Africa, I think they're also bringing different types of business models around the ways that they invest. So that's something to consider and look at. Is like,
but I think a lot of people that are coming in the business side of it, Kat, think maybe it's here in the United States, it's not state by state, because each state's different, but Africa is different in the fact that they're all countries different, right? So you got geopolitical issues going on there. Is that keeping some countries and investments away from Africa, or is it are they being? Yeah,
I mean, I think it just depends on what your sector is and your level of comfort with curiosity and trying new things, right? Because it's still many of the countries are more emerging markets, but I mean, if you're in Rwanda, it's so tech heavy. Obviously, Nigeria is full of really creative spaces on technology, and also the film world, things of that nature. Ghana has a kind of booming real estate market going on right now. So there's a lot of very interesting things that are being proposed. My friends, Troy and Rashad, who are a part of something called Earn Your Leisure. It's a really cool podcast that people should check out, especially around finance. And they are starting their own community, like a Levittown that would have been, throughout the United States in the post-war era. They're doing something very similar to that in Africa. And so Americans and others are moving to these spaces or getting vacation homes in these new communities.
I love that, and I'm looking at this now. I'm gonna bring it up there to everybody so they can see it. They have a YouTube. Wow, 1.6 million followers. Is that right? Oh my goodness, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's even more than that. And they also host a conference every August in Atlanta called Invest Fest. It has over 30,000 participants, and it's quite impressive.
All right, we'll put that up there for everybody to see. That Earn Your Leisure. I like that. See, I'm learning something from you. I love this, Kat. If you're in Nigeria, I think there's a prince there that still owes me some money. So I haven't quite collected on that. I'm not really sure how to do that yet. All right, we've got about 7 minutes now, the top of the hour. Bitcoin is holding steady here. I'll pull that chart back up for everybody to see. Looks like 90,000 seems to be the hold here. And of course, our Netflix here this morning, we crushed that very early this morning. Kat, the Warner Brothers about to be bought by Netflix. Superman and Batman are going to fight each other at the WB now over Netflix. What do you think about that? How's Rosie think about that?
Yeah, what does Rosie think about that? For me, it's both a little scary and very exciting to watch the ways that the greater, movie studio media machines are consolidating as a means to hold tight, as again, going back to that sort of creative workforce, and AI finds the workarounds on needing big studios. So it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. There's been so many mergers in the last 3 years that, we just don't know where we're heading forward. So they're banding together and hopefully making a lot of money for themselves, but also their competition is people they don't even know yet. So in
the last administration, Lena Khan just shut down every merger, and now we've got one that just lets every merger go through, right? So there's a big deal here. I'm excited about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kat Randel, my friend for many years, and extraordinaire internationally. She will get you to Davos and get you to the UN. You got to pass the Kat Randel test before you get there, but I love it. All right, Kat, we'll see you later, but thank you so much for being on the show today.
Cheers. Bye. Thanks, Steve.
All right, everybody wants him. Here we go again. Steve Flanagan, the world leader of Forex. And Steve, the world's changing pretty fast this morning.
Yeah.
Man, talk to me about what's going on, man.
Well, the world's changing. You got Germany passed its pension reform, one of the first parts of the leader Merz, plan. With German GDP so low, last was minus 0.5. They haven't grown in 2 years. There's a big demand out there. Well, what are you going to do for us? He's moved to the center. But he got it passed with a 319 vote out of a 630 member in their parliament. The combination of abstentions, not voting, and didn't vote were 311. So he narrowly squeaked it through, but it's through, just like the U.S. You squeak it through by 2 votes, but it's through. So that's a positive. And I think that you're seeing the euro react to that. 116.53, last week's close 115.96. So the euro is starting to move, which of course has the largest part of the Dixie. We've got the Dixie at 98.95. Last week's close 99.48. So we're seeing this move back down now in the currency market. The dollar is beginning to move into a sideways to lower after punching in 130 on the Dixie. Not a bad thing. Nothing wrong with this. In actuality, Steve, thanks for putting that chart up. You look, you're in a sideways pattern here, going nowhere fast. Tops seem to be beginning to punch newer highs out each and every time. And it's going to be now, where do we put this low in? I believe the low will hold at 98.20. More, we're right in my zone. I like this level. I have put on a small dollar long at this level right here, around 98.80. But I am prepared to buy a little bit more around 98.20. And I'd cut myself out if we break below a 97.70. That's just my way of looking at it. I really don't think the world of currencies is moving right now, because next week starts a 2-week central banks. We got the Fed. First, we got the RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia, on the 9th. They're at 3.6. Then the Bank of Canada at 2.25. Look out in Canada. Woo, what a strong unemployment number came out, 6.5% from 6.9. So a significant drop and gain of the employment picture. And CAD has reacted very quickly, 138.79 right now. So in this period of dollar waffling, the CAD has some room to make on a downside here against the dollar. So I am watching this carefully. As I see the dollar move sideways, it indicates to me a back into U.S. equity strategy. Because as we talk, if the dollar moves sharply to the upside, then a lot of the hedging gets thrown out that we know is very dominant to the short side of the dollar. And as that hedging has to unwind, so too is the winner on the other side of the hedge, which is the U.S. equity market. So in short, the dollar going sideways to me is in a supportive motion into the U.S. markets here. And that's the way I'm watching it. On the world market, not a heck of a lot going on. Factory orders, Germany down 0.7. The Canadian unemployment, we did mention. The Eurozone posted its GDP 0.3%. Now, come on. If that's not sending alarm bells, Europe is just not growing. And lo and behold, finally, an ECB member comes out, Villeroy, today. Downside risks to inflation remain as significant as the upside.
Well, what does he mean by that? Come on, I don't get that one, right? It could go this way or it could go that way. You are the head economist. Tell us exactly what you're talking about. What does he mean by that?
No different than our Fed, right, Steve? They've got to butter the toast on both sides, because they, in a sense, you can't be sitting there as most of the ECB at 2.25%. You've got no growth. Germany was minus 0.5% GDP. You've got no growth, and inflation is 2%, and in some countries actually dropping below. So at some point, you have to say, we've got to stimulate, and to stimulate, their only tool is to lower interest rates. So, there's the
and
U.S.
said that, Steve, PCE numbers coming in now, price index now up 0.2%, right in line with what they thought. That's not inflation to me.
And Steve, where is tariff equal inflation? If you take the tariff, and I'm using Jerome Powell, 0.6% of our present inflation rate is the tariff effect, then the United States is running right on its objective, just slightly higher than 2.2%. So what does that mean? At 4% interest rates, the U.S. is in restrictive territory. So
the new consumer, hold on 1 second, Steve. The consumer spending now coming in at 0.3%. That was forecasted. Previous was 0.6. So consumer sentiment's falling, consumer spending is falling, inflation is falling, people are losing jobs, and yet the Fed keeps saying, well, I've got to worry about inflation. I mean, what more numbers do they need?
Well, they've got to worry about inflation, which is falling, but they've always said the labor market is strong, and we've sliced and diced that so many times. The labor market, while payrolls, the recent number of the jobless numbers was at a 2022 low, the overall payroll situation in the United States in this K economy, the disconnect is that people are not doing that well. So despite a 4.4% unemployment rate that the Fed seems to talk about labor market strong, it's not reflective of today.
Steve, we had a quick question from Carlos. Hey, Carlo, man, it's good to see you again. Very strong message from Trump to African countries saying, especially South Africa, especially in Joburg, has this changed? It says the relationship between Trump and Ramaphosa evolving, and what does it mean for the South African rand? Steve, you want to take over that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the South African rand, I'm not a fan of. It's a higher yielding currency, but it has a potential depreciation. I am not in. I think when we look at Africa as a whole, if we look around the world, first you have Asia as the next investing, followed by Europe. I would actually put Canada and Mex somewhere in the midst, probably before Europe, but then Latin America as well. Then I would put Europe, and lo and behold, you cannot be an international investor without looking at Africa. Africa has such an upside to it, but the timing is everything there. In the South African rand specifically, there's been a lot of things that have been pointed out. And when we start playing currencies in this era, we've got to keep a very close eye on the political, world. And if the comments coming out are so negative, then any tweet is going to move that one significantly. So while I may be a longer-term buyer of the South African rand, I am staying completely out of that one in the shorter term, medium term, until I see some progress, because the upside from here would be substantial. Therefore, if I miss a little bit of this downside, I'm not really worried. So I don't like the South African rand at this particular point in time.
Yeah, we see the Bitcoin sold off this morning, and with this news now, I think some people think that we're going to go right back up on Bitcoin here. I agree with that. I think I agree. We're gonna. I mean, Fed's going to have to cut next week, right?
We talked about yes, Steve, the Fed will cut next week. We talked about the correlations during the month of November coming off. Bitcoin was way out in front, putting a top in. Gold actually topped a bit. So all the correlations where the profits were began to come off, and then the equity market followed right after that. And the dollar, of course, dropped off quickly, and then it surged with the dollar yen specifically. And now that we know Bank of Japan is going to probably raise in 2 weeks, we've got a stabling situation in the currency markets. And what does that mean? In the bigger, broader macro picture, the correlations go back on. Gold and silver have been holding very firm. And that puts us back to the point where now Bitcoin, or the crypto, has been standing off. I was hoping Howard would be on because I wanted to ask him a question. I kind of favor Ethereum over Bitcoin, and I wanted to hear what he thought about that. But yeah, Steve, that's going to be moving. And I like the equity market doing its slow basing. Watch out for the upside next week if you get a Fed cut.
All right. And for those of you who don't know, Howard's out today, sick. He'll be back on Monday. In fact, Howard and I will be in Vegas next week. So we'll talk about that, for the profit trading. All right. So, Steve, I sold my silver. Sold all of it. I'm back on Monday at $58 an ounce. Am I right or wrong here? Did I make a mistake?
You took a profit. There's never a mistake in taking a profit, right?
Sure. I bought it $19.
Yeah. So you've had a great run, and now you would be kind of in a position. See, if I believe in something, I never like to go empty-handed. So I would cut 3/4 and always hold a quarter because I'm so deep in the money. I think silver, as you've been kind of saying on the run up, has such an industrial demand, especially as we begin to look at all the different aspects that are growing in technology. If silver holds here probably through mid next week, I would think that it's going to make another big sharp move up. I'm kind of watching it here. I want to see if it holds in this 50-52 level as support. I myself am still long silver, and as you, I'm in at such a low level that I'm just watching it go.
Yeah, of course, understandable. Yes. All right, Steve, you are Mr. Forex for many, many years. JP Morgan's had the desk. Let me ask a question. Have you seen a time like this in the currency markets? Is there another time period that historians like myself can go back and look and go, you know what? This kind of reminds me of XYZ time.
Wow, Steve, and every narrative out there in the world is trying to assimilate this move to a .com era. I have, as you know, my quantum convergence theory that we are moving into a period of time that we've never, ever seen before. I believe that the explosion in the technology sector of the equity market, which will drag everything with it, will be unparalleled in my lifetime. So, I look at the convergence of issues going on, and I'll simply describe it to this way. As the telephone in the 1950s revolutionized how people could communicate, followed by .com, the time frame is now narrower. The AI will be on parallel to us learning how to fly, how the invention of telephone. That's the significance it will have to the world. And that is never happened before. So I would think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for investors to look at things that make sense. Meta now moving out of the metaverse and more into AI, the glasses, as you said, you're going to go to Tokyo, you hook up a pair of glasses. Next thing you know, it's doing, you can listen to the language. Think about the billions of people on the world. Think about the frontier that a simple innovation like that opens up. I'm trying to draw parallels for people. No, we've never seen anything like this in our lifetime.
You're getting asked again another question here, Steve, coming out very quickly. Carlos now asking, he's very curious to understand how you see stablecoin introduction playing out with the new Genius Acts now in play. What does it mean for Forex? I put you on the spot, Steve Flanagan.
Yeah, that's putting you right on the spot. Ultimately, I see a merging of the foreign exchange markets and the crypto markets. In what sense? I mean, stable coins will play a massive part. Without getting into the weeds here, and let's keep it on a simple analysis. if you look at one of the largest buyers of the U.S. Treasury market today, it would be your stablecoin market. Stable coins offer an opportunity where currencies could potentially transact in right now in my career. When you bought euros and sold dollars, it took 2 days before you saw those effects in your account. Now it has come down to a 1 day in most areas. With stablecoin adopting into the FX world, you could literally sell your euros and have your dollars within moments.
And I think you have to ask the question, define stablecoin, right? Is it CBDCs? Are they going to be a certain coin? Is there going to be a world coin, right? What are we looking at here?
I think you'll end up with individual currency coins.
So a fiat tied to a dollar coin tied to a stable coin. But I think that this administration said no U.S. dollars CBDCs, right? Central bank.
I don't think it'll be a central bank coin. I think what you're looking at is a settlement system. And the stable coins on the opposite ends will be kind of built into a settlement system.
But we already have USDC. We already have Tether. We already have those. Are you saying something else? Or are you saying that something that's already in play now will be what they'll be using?
What's beginning to become in play today will become universal to the system.
Gotcha.
And that will be revolutionary. In other words,
we just had Kat Randel on here talking about, and I think Carla's going to ask too, is asking about Africa. So you have countries, continents, with countries like our United States is a lot of states, right? Will each state have their own coin? Will each country in Africa have their own coin? Will China have their own coin? Will they be denominated by the different provinces in China? Will Japan have all 5 different coins? Or will there be just like main coins for each country?
I would think that as a settlement, it'll be a main coin for each country that as people adopt into the system, let's just think about the technology behind something like this. And let's think about, in my quantum convergence, where I see the world exploding, is think about a massive corporation that has plants in Asia, in Europe. Think about their ability to suddenly move funds, make plans, but do it instantaneously. So if you think $9.3 trillion trades in 1 day in the currency markets, get a handle of that. That is so massive than any other market in the world. Now, when you begin to put the settlement of that to instantaneous, think about how the world gets a massive supercharge to the system, because people can now make plans and quickly put their plans into place. It's things like this that build the quantum convergence that we're moving into, where the world is going to experience a growth period that we, quite honestly, have never seen before.
What's the over-under that next week Fed Powell says quantum convergence?
Boy, that would blow me away. And I would say it's a very low-risk bet there that he would ever mention. But if he even mentions, the global situation, then he's got to be looking at it from a point of view of lower interest rates. The U.S. is the leader. And in a quantum convergence world, there'll be shared leadership throughout the world. China does things great. Europe does things great. Every area of the world collectively moving into this period that technology is driving us into. If he even acknowledges the weakness in Europe or the deflationary aspects that China's in, then that's a lower rate environment.
All right, Carlos says 100% Steve, anti-CBDC is in the Clarity Act, right? I totally agree with you on Steve about the release of $2 billion. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, liquidity in the markets, totally agree with that. All right, Steve Flanagan, have a great weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday. We will call you from Las Vegas, Nevada, as I will be with Howard Greenberg at the Prosper Trading Academy. We'll be there all week, and we'll be doing shows from there and interviewing those guys. You'll know Charlie Moon and Scott Bauer, and those guys are awesome. So we'll be doing some of those interviews as well. All right, Steve Flanagan, we'll see you right back here on Money, my man.
All right. Thank you, Carlos, for the questions.